Thanks for coming back for another installment of Opinions You Did Not Ask For. I want to apologize, first off, for not putting out stuff as regularly as I hoped at first. The reason for that is I continue to learn new things every day when it comes to this video editing stuff. So I want to be able to put out good quality stuff. So as I continue to go with this, things are going to get better and better, and I want to have shows more regular guests. My plan is I'm going to go back and forth with shows like today, where I kind of deep dive on one topic, and then go back to 2 or 3 topics with a guest of somebody that I know. But again, if you want to come on this show and discuss some of our differing opinions, then you're more than welcome to email me. I got the email here at the bottom of the screen, and I'll also put it in the description below. And please like and subscribe to this channel. And today's topic is why I have the opinion that politics is nothing more than pro wrestling, brother. I have the opinion that politics is nothing more than pro wrestling. Jesse Ventura said it best in an interview about this particular thing, where the reporter said, "So are you suggesting that pro wrestling's fake?" And he looked right at the camera and he said, "No, I'm suggesting that politics is fake."
What you have today, what people don't realize, when I went and taught at Harvard in 2004, one of my classes was how pro wrestling prepares you for politics. And it truly does, because it makes you comfortable in front of the mic, it makes you have to ad-lib and think on your feet, and also probably the most is that who you really are and who may not be the same person, in politics today, and you'll hear me say that to the crowd today, politics today is pro wrestling. It is pro wrestling, and you know what I mean by that? I mean by that the Dems and Repubs in front of you and in front of the public is going to tell how they hate each other and how they're different, but as soon as the cameras go off in the back room, they're all going out to dinner together, and they're all buddies cutting deals. It's just like pro wrestling. In front of the public, we hate each other, we're going to rip our heads off, but in the locker room, we're all friends.
Are you suggesting professional wrestling is fake?
I'm suggesting politics is fake.
Politics is just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling and politics goes all the way back, as far as I know, to Abraham Lincoln, who was a very good amateur wrestler. And not only was he a good amateur wrestler, but then he moved on to be a pro wrestler, which pro wrestling started off in the carnival days. So, it's said that he could cut a good promo, which doesn't surprise me, because what do you think politicians are doing? They're cutting promos. If you don't know what a promo is, in wrestling, that's where a wrestler or 2 wrestlers or however many will stand in the ring and talk to each other, and they'll hold a microphone and go at it. I mean, some of the best people to ever cut a promo in wrestling is obviously the big one, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or The Rock. Hulk Hogan was good. With the promos, they would draw people in the building. That's how they got them in, because that's how wrestling made their money back in the day. Now it's all off of TV contracts. Just like look in 2020, there's nobody in the building. They're not worried about making the money off the fans being in the building. They're worried about them TV contracts. They got to get them there. But anyways, my point is that to be a good pro wrestler, you had to cut a promo. You had to get people to buy in to come in to see that next show. You had to get them to buy that pay-per-view that's coming up. That's how they made that money. For instance, the President of the United States right now, he is not only in the WWE Hall of Fame, but he was in a match with Vince McMahon. He hosted at Trump Plaza WrestleMania 4 and 5 and sat ringside. And he knows how to cut a promo. And that's one of the biggest things in pro wrestling. Donald Trump knows how to cut a promo. Just like his Twitter. That is nothing more than to draw the people in. Bring his people that hate him to hate him stronger and solidify the people that support him. He knows what he's doing. I've had this argument with people where it's, I wish he would stay off of Twitter. He knows what he's doing. That's not, he's not just making random tweets. It makes it seem like he is. But there's somebody behind that. There, I'm sure that's calculated in some way because anytime you hear a lot of times in business, or show business, no publicity is bad publicity. So when he makes things where it ends up in the news, from what he said, people still talking about him, and he knows that he's going to have people that defend him no matter what, and he's going to have people that are against him no matter what. So if he puts it out there, then you know that he's being talked about one way or another. And so just like with pro wrestling, most things are done to get a reaction. Back in the day with Hulk Hogan, the leading up to stuff, they would always have Hogan beat down, till he was able to get the big reaction at usually a WrestleMania, big event, where that's when everything would come to a head, and it was all done to get a reaction. So with politics and in the media, all this stuff is done to elicit a reaction. So in wrestling, they have what they call marks, and that goes back to the carnival days. So, and back in the carnival days, you would have a guy out in the audience that would figure out who has the money and who's basically the sucker, who's going to believe and believe whatever the carnival trick is. So they would mark them. They would either mark them on their back, and they would physically mark them with a marker somehow. And so you would, that way, when they go to the next carnival attraction, that person knows, okay, this guy's a mark, so I can go ahead and I have him no matter what, basically. So like in wrestling, they know no matter what they put on TV, they have the marks. And in politics, Donald Trump, and I'm using him because, that's the pro wrestling guy, so he's the easiest to equate to, but this goes for all politicians. Hillary Clinton even, they know they have their base, their marks, the people that's going to buy into whatever they are selling no matter what. But they have to appeal to other people that are in the middle. In the upcoming election, you have Donald Trump. He knows he's got this base over here, no matter what he says, no matter what he does. Biden knows over here, he has these marks. No matter what he says, what he does, people's going to vote for them. Just like you're seeing now, vote blue no matter who. So there's this whole big middle that, like in wrestling, they have to try to appeal to. Like, and I'm a big wrestling fan. So, and I'm one of these guys, I hate when they bring in a movie star to appeal to the major audience. I would rather see one of the guys just there all the time, but they'll bring in this big movie star to appeal to the audience that cares nothing about wrestling, but they see that Jon Stewart or Mike Tyson or whoever's going to be on Monday Night Raw that night, so they might tune in. And why they do that is to get people from the audience that wouldn't normally view wrestling. So that's why a lot of times you'll see people say, well, so-and-so's not a real Republican, or so-and-so, he did that, he's not a real Democrat or not a real liberal. they do certain things because they have to bring in that people that are not going to go this way or that way, and really in America we're not a two-party system, but it seems like that because it's controlled. Both sides don't want a third party at all. They don't. So that's why really they're working together. And even though they may do stuff that seems like they hate each other, just like Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan hated each other, or just like, okay, so Nancy Pelosi rips up the papers behind Donald Trump at the State of the Union address. Okay, to me that's no different than Hacksaw Jim Duggan beating up on the Iron Sheik, or the Iron Sheik taking the American flag and stomping on it at Madison Square Garden, and then later that night they're pulled over in the car together. So don't think for a minute that when Nancy Pelosi ripped up them papers behind Donald Trump that wasn't done deliberately for a reaction. And buddy, they got it, and I wouldn't doubt for a minute that they talked about it or anything. I mean, Donald Trump took a long time. He didn't turn around. Probably because he turned around, he probably would have laughed. He knew what was going on. To me, no different than pro wrestling right there. They playing you guys, man. They are playing you guys. So ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would they want to control that? Just like Vince McMahon said, he wouldn't want to have shoot fighting. Shoot fighting is basically real fighting. So when two wrestlers, amateur wrestlers, are in a wrestling match, that's a shoot. You don't know what the outcome's going to be until the two go at it. So he wouldn't want shoot fighting. He wouldn't want to promote the UFC like Dana White does. And Dana White does a good job at it. But Vince McMahon wants total control of who's going to be his champion and what the storylines are going to be. So Dana White tries his best to do that, but, he could be building like Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was huge star in the UFC, and then she loses 2 fights, and then all that luster is gone, basically. So Vince McMahon don't want that. He wants complete control of that. So why would the Democrats and the Republicans want to control that? That way they know who they can push, who they want to be president. I feel that Bernie Sanders, who I feel probably had more support than Hillary Clinton in 2016, he got screwed. And that's because that's not who they wanted. They wanted Hillary Clinton. Just like same thing in 2020. They didn't want Bernie Sanders again. They want Joe Biden. Now, I believe that the same thing was trying to happen to Trump, but he did just elicit so much of a reaction, so much of a base that wasn't even Republicans. It ain't like he got a bunch of Republicans to vote for him. There was this whole other base or whole other group of people in the middle that was looking for something. They didn't want the same old politician like a Mitt Romney or somebody. And so he was able to draw a bunch of them. I believe Bernie did the same thing with the Democrats, but the Democrats, they didn't want another basically establishment guy, just like the Republicans had with Trump. My feeling is that they want to control that, just like they control the media. It's the reason I believe that the Dems and Repobes control the media is because they want to control the narrative of who they have and who they're trying to push. And that's why, unfortunately, you have a CNN who most people throw out, and then Fox News who don't throw out CNN, they throw out Fox News. So you can have two different narratives from what is supposed to be accredited news sources, because you tell somebody, oh, I seen this on the internet, and if you don't say CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, or Fox News, they'll say, well, that's not an accredited news source. And then in the same breath, they might say, oh, Fox News, they're no good, Or you say, oh, yeah, I got this off of CNN's website. CNN, you believe what they say? So we have this whole thing where, what's right and what's wrong. I could tell you, well, I seen an article on Fox News, and then immediately half the country's like, I ain't listening to that. And like I said, same thing, I got this off of MSNBC. Well, they're nothing but, Clinton supporters or whatever, So then I could sit there and say, well, I watched this on YouTube. Oh, you get all your information from the internet? Or, oh, just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean it's true or whatever. So my point is, they control that. They control what's on there. So they can control the narrative. Just like WWE, Vince McMahon, he doesn't want his guys talking to regular news outlets. That's why, there are some wrestling news sites, but it's hard for them to get a lot of information in WWE. And if they do, it says, they have sources that say, because they can't name names because they'll lose their job in WWE. A lot of that happens. Same thing in politics. They can't say, well, so-and-so told me, because then whatever part of the administration they are, they could be out. Or, say they're a senator and they say something, some inside knowledge that, the Democrats or Republicans didn't want out there, then they're going to be on the outside of their own party. So yes, with that, is politics pro wrestling? Definitely. Definitely politics is pro wrestling. Just look at how many wrestlers and people from the wrestling industry end up running for office. You had Linda McMahon, who's Vince McMahon's wife, was in Trump's cabinet for a couple of years. And you have Glenn Jacobs, which is the recent one, the big one, who is mayor of Knox County right now. And he was Kane for many years in WWE. We already mentioned Jesse Ventura. We know he was governor of Minnesota. And then recently, Rhino, who has been in every major wrestling organization, was running for office up in Michigan. So there's lots of crossover, lots of people from the wrestling industry that do run for office in politics. And one more thing with this that I can think of is the slogans, like Austin 316. You automatically know that's Stone Cold Steve Austin. You can see it on a shirt, see it on a sign, anything. Whenever you see Make America Great Again, you know that's Donald Trump without even seeing his name. Now we have Build Back Better, that's Joe Biden. Hope and Change, automatically Barack Obama. Without seeing their name, you knew just by their slogan. And that's why, you have Hulkamania and If You Smell, and then that's what The Rock is cooking. Just all these things that can just be put on a sign, on a t-shirt, in wrestling and in politics. And it makes it so much easier for promoting somebody without having their name on there. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And so, again, we have the similarities in cutting promos in politics and wrestling. We got the staged bickering, where they act like they hate each other, but we know they really get along. And then slogans. And like I just said, the Austin 316 and make America great again. So if you guys can think of any more similarities, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this. And I'm looking forward to another round of these opinions you did not ask for. And I'll be looking for you next time on Opinions You Did Not Ask For. Thank you, and good night.